Just touching back then on Marshall Records, because that obviously hasn't launched in the traditional sort of manner. How did you get involved in setting that up, and how did it get set up?
Well, that's interesting in its own right, because I met somebody who was making a record for a band, and they were in Abbey Road Studios, and I was working with a legendary drummer called Ginger Baker, who unfortunately passed away. But he, long story short, I was in Abbey Road, and I ran into this guy, and he said he was making a record for a band, and Marshall Amplification were paying for it. And I said, "Oh, Marshall, do they have a record label?" And he said, "No, they've just given me some money to make the record with this band called King Creature." And I said, "Why would they do that? What, they're just giving them the money." And I thought, that sounds a bit odd. So anyway, I managed to then get a meeting with the head of Marshall, and I said, "Why have you given that band the money to make a record? What do you want from them?" They said, "Well, we just want to help them." And I said, "Well, why don't you, if you're willing to just give the money to the band, why don't you invest in setting up a record label? Then you can really help the bands, and you've got a motivation then to support the band and then help them grow. And then they'll hopefully be more loyal to the brand, right?" And so they said, "Okay, what does that look like? Because we don't know anything about how that works." And I said, "Well, I do, because that's what I've been doing for the last 30 years or whatever, right?" So I then put together a proposal, and Marshall liked it, and we then started working together on developing a record label concept. It's changed considerably in the last 7 years. The company has changed itself, and it's now a much bigger company. It's called the Marshall Group now, and we built a recording studio. But essentially, it stems from Marshall being a company that obviously has a very big global footprint. Not just in amps, but in headphones, in Bluetooth speakers. As a lifestyle brand, it's growing every day, and it's an incredibly successful company. So at the heart of it is musicians. There is no guitar players unless there are guitar players. There's no amps, right? No one's going to buy an amp if there are no guitar players. So Marshall's ethos really is about trying to, where it can, because it can't do everything, but where it can, support artists developing talent, not just in the UK, but in global markets now, and really support as many artist journeys as we can in whatever way we can. And that means work with the Music Venue Trust. That means work with education, to give people an opportunity to understand about how the music business works, in our building a recording studio, and giving really favorable deals to artists. We don't recoup recording costs a lot of the time, and we're really all about the artists. That's really what Marshall is, and that's really how it started. So I've been very lucky that with the changes at Marshall, the support has always been there for supporting new talent and on their journey.
One of the things that I think Marshall have done with the label over the last few years is sort of got much more modern. It looked at the start like you were signing more of a classic rock type band, more of the...
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, when it started, you got to remember that it started with me and an idea, and I knew about distribution, I knew about setting up a record label, how it works, and making record deals, but I didn't really know the scene that well, in the sense that obviously we wanted to put out guitar-based music.
Yeah.
But I think what's happened as the company has grown over the last 6 or 7 years is we've had great people working for the company who've been able to go, "There's this really good band that you should do," or "We should look at this band," or "Let's go out and see this band, and they're really good." So I think, yeah, we we're like anything. We've developed, I think, our attitude to rock alternative, because that is really where we sit, is that, we think it's important that, there is, an inclusive, safe environment for musicians, whether you're black, white, queer, all of it. For us, we have to, and we love to support everybody. So, we have some incredible artists. I've got a fantastic artist called Kid Bookie on the label, who is completely bonkers, but I just fell in love with him. He walked in the office and just basically said, "I fucking love your fucking company." And I said, "You don't know us." And he went, "Yeah, but I still fucking think I love you." And I said, "What do you want?" He said, "Well, I want to be on your label." I said, "All right, well, you're on the label then." And we signed him on the spot, literally. I literally just shook his hand. He walked in and he said, "What, am I going to be on Marshall now?" And I said, "Yeah."
Awesome. So we really like Kid Bookie. We're actually looking at signing him for the publishing.
He's fantastic. He's genius. And we've allowed him the freedom to make this album, and he's, spent a long time over it and didn't put any pressure on him at all. And it's absolutely brilliant record. We're just blown away by it. Most of it made at Marshall. So, that kind of attitude, Dream Nails, sort of punk, queer, female, non-binary band who just defy any kind of pigeonholing, but they feel very safe with us, and they know we have no interest to tell them what to do. We just want to help them and enhance whatever it is that they're doing. So we have a really open door policy. We're definitely not, "Oh, well, we only do this or we only do that." I think the new punk rock, that is happening has really something I predicted from the pandemic. I thought there would be an explosion of guitar bands, and here we are. Punk is right at the top of the agenda, isn't it? There's so many great bands. I'll be seeing one of our own bands tonight, Noah and the Loners, who are on Six Music playlist, believe it or not. And that's a band who are just reaching, I think they're now 18, 19. I signed them when they were 17, and barely could they play, but now they're fantastic and done tons of shows. They're at 100 Club tonight, and absolutely so blown away by their development and journey. And they're a punk rock band, noisy, sweary, annoying punk rock band. So we just love the energy of young musicians. That's what we're.
If you got a band, because you just mentioned that you don't tell them what to do. If you signed them and you signed them for a particular reason, you'd heard an EP or something and you're like, "We really like this, what they're doing and the direction they're going in." If then once they started recording, it completely changed and you were like, "This really isn't what we thought we were buying," where would you draw the line at wanting to get involved in?
Well, that's an interesting one as well, right? Because after 45 years, I'm not saying I know what a hit record sounds like or anything like that, right? But I do have an idea when something is right. And there is one of our bands who I let do what they wanted to do. And there was a few things with the record that I wasn't happy with. Now, I did say to them, "You don't have to listen to me, but if I was you, what I would do is I would take that bit out there and I would shorten that bit there, and I would definitely take out that swear word there, and they were a bit miffed about it, right? And they were like, "Oh, I didn't think you were going to tell us what to do." I said, "I'm not telling you what to do. I'm giving you my advice." Anyway, they followed my advice, and that song's on 1.3 million Spotify streams and does 10,000 a week, and has actually been really part of what has helped their journey and started making things happen for the band. Now, they actually wrote a song for their album that talks about that, because, they were very miffed that I interjected. But what I said to them is, look, I think you've got something good. It's just not right. If you make it, if you just do a couple of tweaks, then I think it might be better. And now, of course, they're saying, well, I have to say, yeah, I'm glad we listened to you. All right. So at the end of the day, I don't want to tell anyone what to do, but I will advise people, where I can.